Evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Leeds View for this week's podcast. We're going to start off with a chirpy tone because we're going to talk about the Burnley game. And that's probably going to drag us all down. I knew you were waiting to do something. That's probably going to drag us down a little bit. But yeah, hopefully everyone's doing fine. We'll stick your comments down below in the chat. There's a lot of stuff to get through tonight. But we'll start off with just checking in with the lads and just seeing how their weekends were before we start talking about football. And there's lots of stuff. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about. But Gerry, how are you, mate? How's things? You were at the game.
Oh, not bad. I went to Burnley, but forget about the match. I was in Burnley. It's somewhere where you can't buy chips with a card. You have to have cash. I went to my seat. The seat numbers went 26, 27, 28, 43, 104. Can't even get bloody seats right. Team selection, wrong. So many players, which we'll talk about, really annoyed me. Brendan and Jack, sorry. Not starters, not the quality. And it was a bad day. We still wouldn't score. I saw the match of the day, and it's Michael Richards said, look at those stats. Leeds were brilliant on the day, couldn't score. Just shows these guys are getting paid money for talking bollocks. And all in all, it was a bad day. It was a bad day. And yeah, it's just... we say things. I mean, if you look back, I bet it contradicted myself, and we all contradict what great these players are. Stack, I thought, fantastic start of the season. I was really annoyed with him, which I'll go on and talk about. And, other things said we're on a good run. Maybe the recruitment's okay. We said October after the international break. This is now when it's starting to crystallize, and it can change your mind. We can change opinion, something to back it up. So other than that, it wasn't a bad weekend, actually. It was really good. Yeah.
It's hard to balance it out, isn't it? It is, because Leeds does dictate your form and your mood over the course of a weekend. And yeah, lots of bad points. I mean, a lot of people are leaning on the statistics, I think, and I'm guilty of this. I think you use statistics as a crutch when you can't argue any positives from it. You look to, well, where's the positive, the statistics? But I always talk about possession with purpose, and Leeds had managed, of all the shots and all the possession, Leeds managed to put 4 shots on target in the entire match. That's a statistic no one's talking about. And of those 4, every single one went straight to the goalkeeper. So outside of that, we did absolutely nothing in front of goal. So you can talk about possession all day, but we don't get a trophy, Paul, do we, for picking up a possession reward? How was your weekend, mate?
Fine, absolutely fine. Everything's good. Football, it's great. It's fun. It's amazing. Love it. Been teetotal for quite a long time. I only drink a very, very... I say teetotal. I have a beer occasionally, but I mean, I was reaching for the whiskey after Saturday. Yeah. You could tell how poor the game was, just in terms of... Forget the statistics. Rubbish. Yeah. You could tell how poor the game was on the basis of literally the normal people that are reporting on the games. So your Graham Smiths, your Baron Crosses, those types of people that would put information online, would literally saying nothing throughout the half. And that tells you everything you need to know about how poor that game was. And it just, we've talked about it, just the intensity levels, all of that kind of stuff. It's lacking, and then it affects the rest of your weekend because somebody asked me, "Are you going to go and see your dad tonight?" And I went, "No." They said, "Why not?" I said, "Because I'm going to be miserable if I go and sit in front of him because I'm annoyed." My wife, God love her, knows not to ask me to do anything, ask me any silly questions if Leeds haven't won, because you'll get venom and fire from me because I'm annoyed. It annoys me, especially when we've said we have the tools to be able to make it better. Just something's not quite right at the moment.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We're going to look at the goals in a bit more detail. We're actually going to go through them. We're going to look at what's coming up after the international break that we're facing, and why these 3 games coming up are so important, and why that game there was very important as well. I just caught Vega's comment there saying, Marcelo Gallardo plays a 4-3-2, 4-3-1-2. I like Gallardo. We won't talk about him just yet. We're not in that territory just yet. And I'm not saying, I don't think anybody here is saying we should sack the manager. I think we're just saying at this point, maybe be a little bit more flexible, Daniel. Maybe start looking at some different options. But we're going to get into that as well. We're going to give our opinion on what we think Leeds could do given the injury crisis in the wide areas right now and how we can fix that. But we're going to start off, though, before we get to the Burnley game, we want to look ahead to Friday night, because the talk that's right there now is West Ham United. So I am going to stick a few bits and pieces up on the screen real quick, and we're going to just have a little chat about the 4-game block that we're in and why this 4-game block is so absolutely important for Leeds. I'm just going to turn off the overlay there for 2 seconds. So we all thought we'd get a result against Burnley. We've not managed to pick up anything. We've a big giant L beside that. We've got West Ham, Gerry, next. And Nuno Espirito Santo described Burnley West Ham last night as a team suffering from anxiety right now. They were really poor last night. And when you look at there, you've got Nottingham Forest and West Ham in that next 3 matches. And those 2 games could do an awful lot to either take the pressure off Leeds and make us all a bit calmer and open a little bit of a gap, or could absolutely very much put us right in the mud. But I think we're probably sitting exactly where we all thought we would be if we were asked this time last season. Where would you be at this point? I think the early run and start of the season maybe got our hopes up a little bit. But looking at what's ahead, Jerry, and specifically that West Ham United game, where's your head at with that, and how important does that home game now become?
Well, I always worry that a team's on a bad run. Dr. Leeds will sort you out. Come to play Leeds, and if you're on a bad run, we'll end it for you. But that's always the worry. You look at, although a bit of seriousness, if teams on a bad run, it has to end sometime. I caught bits of the game last night at West Ham, and the atmosphere was like a training game. It was like behind closed doors. They've got nothing there, and the fans are disillusioned. And a new manager in there, Nuno. So you look at when they went to Forest earlier in the season, and Forest had their own problems, and they absolutely hammered them 3-0. They've got the players. We know Somerville well, Bowen, these players, but there's something not right there. But they've got a new guy in there, so you would think they'd start sorting this out. Maybe they need a trip away if we'd be better off playing them at West Ham at the moment, because that seems pretty toxic down there. But we've got to put aside what's gone wrong with them. We've got to go out and prove that we've got something to show the fans. On Friday night under the lights, massive game. Need to make up to the fans for how poor we were on Saturday. And this is the best chance, because West Ham obviously below us put a bit of daylight between us and the bottom 2-3. I think this is a must win. And especially after, I always mantra is 4 points from every 3 games. Well, we can't do that in this batch of 3, but we certainly need to win this one. There's no doubt about that. And we got to start strong, because for the first time in our history, we've conceded the first goal 7 games in a row. I saw that stat today, Leeds data, and you can't keep going behind. I mean, we've come from behind in other games, but go behind. You've seen Burnley on Saturday. Go behind, perfect for them. They just sit behind the ball, and we haven't got the metal to break them down. So we got to start good, and it's got to be. We'll talk about different setup, different selection, different tactics, and I think Daniel's got to be flexible in this, and this will be the test for him as well. I mean, it is early yet, but he's got to be able to change. 70 minutes is no good. You can't change those 70 minutes and throw chaos on the pitch and throw 10 attackers on. That's not going to work. You need to at half-time be ruthless and change this. So early goal. If it's not going well, change it early, and let's get a result out of this, because it's bloody vital.
Yeah, it's going to be vital. And Paul, just moving on to the run of games we've both had, us and West Ham, it's similar looking, a lot more, actually not, pretty much bang on by one defeat of a difference, but played some of the same teams in there as well. But it does become a really big game because, and as Gerry said, conceding the first goal in 7 matches in a row is an incredible statistic. Daniel Farke spoke after the game against Burnley about still not getting the offensive players that he wanted into the side. And the statistic that's been, I don't know whether it's casually being ignored or deliberately being ignored, is the conceding 6 goals in your last 3 games when you've brought in a ton of defensive players and played with a defensive 3-man midfield. How important is this? But what does Daniel Farke need to start listening or doing to change this and turn this around?
Well, you look at the mistake that, for me, that he made on for the game against Burnley, and you said it yourself. We've got an embarrassment of riches in defence. That game didn't need that level of defensive midfield that we had on Saturday. It didn't warrant it. It just didn't warrant it, full stop. I find it just annoying that he has this inability to adapt or to change based on what's actually going on. If you look at it from a point of view of the defensive statistic, it was a defensive team that we put out based on the players that are there. But still, and I know everybody likes to use stats as a bit of a crutch, but from a statistic point of view, we dominated the game based on the statistics. So my thought would be, well, surely if you go a bit more attacking, we'd absolutely strangle them even more. Maybe, I don't know. It's this being wedded to a certain system, this sort of inflexibility of being able to change things around, but also as well, the look here, I haven't had the attacking things that I need. Don't look over here.
Don't look over here
at the defensive stuff that's going on. You know, we've got a load of defenders, but we're still letting in that amount of goals over that period of time. He needs to, for me, the change that needs to be made, or the changes that need to be made, is he needs to use the tools that he has at his disposal to be able to create the best outcome. And the tools that we have at our disposal, in my humble opinion, as being a football fan for the last 45 years, is we're not using our best players that we have at our disposal right now in a system that would suit all of them. We're basically putting the square pegs in round holes again to fit a system that Farke likes.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's a stubbornness that he's not willing to change. Make no mistake, this game against West Ham is crucial, absolutely crucial. I call it as being on a ladder, and you and I have spoken about this, of being on a ladder of where I am in terms of Farke, wanting Farke to leave. I'm probably on step 2 of the 10-step ladder, maybe getting closer to step 3 of how I feel about Farke at this moment in time. And you know, Nottingham Forest as well is going to be a very, very crucial game, because they've got Sean Dyche in now. So it's going to be, I mean, Brexit football, hurrah. But
it's too hard work. It'll be just two teams that will work hard.
Oh, absolutely. But if we can't beat an absolutely fragile West Ham team on Friday, because they have decent players, make no mistake about it, but mentality-wise, they're absolutely shot. And it's Leeds United, it's under the lights, it's 8 o'clock kickoff, it's a Friday night, it's dark, the atmosphere should be absolutely flowing, and it should be really, really good. But if we can't get a result out of that game, then questions will naturally start to get asked about it as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's set up to fix the issue, isn't it? It's set up for Friday night under the lights in Elland Road. It's set up to be another memorable night. It's set up for an exciting night for Leeds fans. And as you say, it'll be loud. It's all set up for Leeds to do it. But I suppose we can, as much as you can predict what Daniel Farke will do at the starting 11, I think we're starting to predict what he's going to say in the press conference. He's going to tell us that West Ham are an established Premier League side and it's not a must-win game. But at some point, there's a couple of must-win games. And the reason I said it, we'll get to that later on, but the 1 point per game average that Daniel Farke talks about, we're bang on that now. We're right on the cusp of that. So if we don't get a couple of wins in the next few games, you go into the December run of games, which I will put up on screen in a few minutes, and you look at that and you go, well, you're going to lose your 1 point per game average right there, unless you've got some points in the back. But Gerry, I don't want to go in too heavy just on Farke right now, and I want to try and be balanced about this. There's a lot of blame to go around right now, and for me, there's 3 different sets, and I'd love your opinion on this. There's the first set of this, which is the ownership of the club. The owners didn't finish the jigsaw. They messed around towards the end. Maybe they lowballed and tried to think that they were a little bit smarter than the market, and ultimately got their pants pulled down, their backside smacked, and ended up coming out short when they needed those final few bits and pieces, which is, I don't know, becoming a long tradition for Leeds United in competitions at this stage of just not getting the last bits and pieces done. That's the ownership. Daniel Farke, for me, comes in for criticism for not being flexible enough. And again, we'll get into that in a bit more detail, but maybe changing the system to suit the players you've got, rather than trying to play a system and as Paul says, squidge them all into that system and try and make it work. And then for me, there's a third area, and that's the players themselves. There is accountability on a football pitch. If it's not going your way, which it wasn't against Burnley, I didn't see anybody grabbing anybody by the scruff of the neck and trying to drag a performance out of them. So you do have to look across all 3 spectrums to go, there is culpability in every single one of those areas. And unless that changes, there's only 2 that can change in right now, Daniel Farke and the players. January then goes back to the ownership. But where do you sit with that right now?
Yeah, well, you take each one. The ownership, yes, didn't get that attacking player, and we've been unlucky with injuries as well. Dan James and Willie Nunta would probably have been maybe started, or maybe Brendan not, I don't know. But yeah, the last shenanigans, which we're so used to wherever the owners in the last 10, 15 years, was a bit embarrassing, and desperation and flights waiting for people coming in. What is it about planes on deadline day? So that wasn't great. And yeah, then trying to smooth it over with the fans and say, oh, we're okay, we got a squad, etc., etc. I think Farke as well, you can moan that he hasn't got the players, but he's got what he's got. And you know what? I would not be surprised if we start with basically the same team on Friday night, maybe Dan James in for Jack Harris. I would not be surprised. And I think if that happens and we don't get a result, then serious questions would be asked about the manager. If he changes the formation and, as you say, use the players he's got, and, you know, get fresh legs, fresh bodies. You know, there's players out there that need dropping. There's no doubt about it. I mean, on the culpability of players, Stack. I was raving about Stack at the beginning of the season, and I was actually, one thing I hate to see on the pitch is someone pulling out of a tackle. And even before that, I watched them. We were behind the goals a couple of times, half-hearted, just running the player and pass around him, not sliding. And he looked like someone who, I'm not interested. Maybe that's a bit strong, but looked like someone who needed a good kick in the arse and needs dropping, I think. And I think Tanaka needs to come in there. Jack Harrison's 5 years past his sell-by date. He can't cross the ball, can't beat a man. If he does, he beats everybody. And he's come on in cameos, and he's okay in that. But we never seen Jack Harrison and Aronson as being our attacking option. Brendan, he should have put that one away. You know, he got 1-on-1 to keep. He got to be putting those away. He's busy.
Sure, he takes pressure off Harrison and him because it's an assist for Jack Harrison, then it's a goal for Brendan Aronson, and takes a bit of pressure off.
Yeah. It was good ball. If he scores, great. I'm delighted for him. And you watch him closely. And yeah, I'm willing at every Leeds player to do. I want Jack to put one in the top corner and prove me wrong and laugh. But he hits one into the ground. There's one over the bar. Brendan, he buzzes around, but 9 times out of 10, he loses it, or he runs. He takes one touch too many. So those are the three players that I would definitely drop. I think if we were playing two centre halves, I think Pascal. He's been great. He's come in, kept Bijol out, but Bijol's got to be in now, or regard or depend on the formation. Goalkeeper's a funny one. Darlow, you can't blame him for the goals, but his distribution leading to the first goal, just headed out without even looking out to touch, and that led to the goal. And there was another couple, but it would be harsh to drop him. But I think you paid all that money for Perry. Maybe he will come in, I don't know. But Darlow, I don't see the goalkeeper as being the main problem at the moment, but I certainly see those players. And Farke, as I said, 70 minutes. It's too late. It might get away with that against Oxford or Cardiff or Swansea. But when you're in these games, you gotta be switched on. You watch the Bournemouth manager the last game, and he's constantly going, changing it, made a difference. Whereas we put 4 strikers on and hope for the best. And in the 80th minute, that's not good enough. So I'm probably step 4.5 ball on your ladder. And I think Farke's been brilliant what he's done and everything.
Yeah.
But it's a ruthless game, and we can't do a February like we did with Jesse Marr. If we go to the next international window and we're in the bottom 3 and have lost a couple more games, I think serious questions have got to be asked. And I don't like calling him. Farke got us out of trouble. He came in when it was chaos. Last year, chaos as well. And he's been brilliant. It's a ruthless game. But who's out there, I don't know. I see Sean Dyche isn't confirmed for the Forest Christmas party yet. He's only in as provisional because he's not quite
six games to make a job his, hasn't he? He's got his probation period.
I'm sure he'll get the job. But that's always a worry. New manager coming in. So anyway, that's my take on it. Everybody's culpable, but we're all culpable. You know, if we win on Friday night and we get results at Forest and Brighton, everybody's happy. That's football for you. But we're a bit worried at the moment.
It's interesting. I'm not getting into it in too much detail. I want to show the goals and go through the goals. But when people do bring up potentially sacking Daniel Farke, those who would like to defend the manager, which is fine at this point in the season. That will change the longer the season goes on if the results don't change. But the first thing you'll hear is, well, who else is there? A big bag of money will get anybody. It's that simple. You know, Leeds is a club that has pull. It's just got to be done the right way. But if you want somebody, there's plenty out there. Liam Racine is being linked right now, but for me, that's down the road. But yeah.
I said to you earlier on today, Mancini's another option, potentially.
Yeah. If we get to that stage, I mean, as I say, we've still got 3 matches where Daniel Farke can get a couple of wins and all of a sudden this goes away again for a while. And, I do want to talk about the goals because there's been a lot of questions about who's responsible, who did what. So, excuse me for 2 moments while I go into full analysis mode for a second, try and rattle through this because fancy graphics on screen time. The first goal circled is the goal scorer, and right in front of him is Anton Stack. Behind is Joe Rodon here. Then Ethan Ampadu is in here. There's 3 Leeds players here. Funnily enough, right here. Nobody in here where they should be. The issue here is, as you can see, Jack Harrison's movement. Jack Harrison goes to here and puts both of his hands behind his back. Now, you're not in the penalty area, Jack, so don't worry about giving away a penalty with a handball, but doesn't press the ball for me. You move it on one shot. He still hasn't pressed the ball. Ball comes in. He starts to move away at the back post. This was on Arsenal as well. We did the exact same thing after the Arsenal game. Every single Leeds United player is ball watching. All of them. None of them are looking behind them to see what's going on here. And maybe Joe Rowland should be talking to them. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. Take it another step further. There's the jump right there. There's the header. There's Stack who's marking him. He gets between the two of them. And then when you flip it around, look at it from the back, look at the size of the gap that he had to run between. But also, again, and we'll make a bigger point of this, the amount of Leeds United bodies that are in there, Paul. What are your thoughts on the first goal?
Communication, naivety, silly mistakes that make. I don't know what Jack Harrison's doing there to do that. We know one thing that Walker's going to do, which is just going to absolutely try and swing a ball in, which is what he managed to do. Close the space down. Close it down. It's silly that we're not like the basics. Just close the space down. And you look at that grouping of the I say defence. I use the term loosely of how leaky it was, but you've got Rodon that's there. He's watching just underneath the nil for Burnley. He's probably got one eye on that player that's just underneath the nil part for Burnley, the Burnley player that's just
this guy here. This guy right here.
He's probably got an eye on him coming in.
Yeah.
Stack's positioning is all wrong there as well. He shouldn't be. The player shouldn't be in. He shouldn't have been getting.
He should be blocking the run. He should be side down blocking that run.
Absolutely blocking the run, and he's not. Consequently, the Burnley player runs in. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. Bogchu, I think his name, if you pronounce it correctly. He runs that's it, yeah. Runs absolutely into just a massive space because if you see there, Rodon's there spun because the Burnley players then is tracked in, so that's taking his eyes off. Then that creates space for him. Stack's 6 feet away from him. How are you 6 foot away from a guy there being able to giving him that much space to hit the header like that? It's just ridiculous.
The second goal, Gerry, we'll get your take on the second one. The second goal has so many fingers of blame to be pointed, but we're going to cover one again. I don't want to make it an agenda. Pascal Struijk has the ball here. And if you look at Gabby Goodmanson's entire body language, he's starfished, screaming for the ball, right? His body language. But the other body language to keep an eye on here is Kyle Walker's, because Kyle Walker has seen this pass before it's even left, before Pascal Struijk even opened his body up to pass it. Because Kyle Walker's position says, I'm running that way. He's head down, the legs are open, he's starting to move. And as that ball goes, there it is there. Walker is just going to step in. The ball is short. It doesn't make it. Doesn't have enough power to get to Gabby Goodmanson because he's looking for the ball. Again, looking at Goodmanson's shape there. He's going back that way. So Goodmanson wanted it in front of him. It goes behind him, which has been and again, not to hang Struijk out to dry on this, that has been a problem with some of Leeds' attacking passing all season, where it's been behind players or beside them instead of in front of them to run into. But you've still got opportunities to stop this goal. First one is this. Struijk's in a really good position here. He's ran across. He's going to cut out that run from Kyle Walker. An aging Kyle Walker, it should also be pointed out as well. Then he gets level with him. Similar to Spurs, similar to Guy Koresh at Arsenal. He gets level with him. And within a couple of seconds, he's now lost him and is now running. He's coming back infield while Joe Rodon is coming across to cut the run out. A couple of passes later, so they turn back and they go to here. Now, there's a really interesting... I missed one gap in the middle here, so I'll try and talk you through it slowly. What I want to point out here is this right here. Ethan Ampadu, Leeds central defensive midfielder, is now the deepest lying Leeds United player. And just before this, he's fixing his sock, which wound me up. No, it's only a couple of seconds, but he pulls his socks up. While this... I think he looks at it and goes, danger averted. We've managed to get past this. We're okay. The goal scorer is in Akers. Now, there should be a midfielder in here. Sean Longstaff is here. He starts to move out. Watch where Sean Longstaff ends up versus where he starts versus Ethan Ampadu where he starts and ends up, right? Stack is here again, just kind of covering the lines. There's nothing wrong specifically with this setup right now. It seems fine. You take it on a step, and this is what happens. Right here, right now, Anton Stack is in the right position. He's blocking a passing lane. Ethan Ampadu is still here. Sean Longstaff is now here. So Ampadu's barely moved. Rodon's come back across. Stroke is here. Dan James is here. What happens here is they pass the ball that way to the right and then straight back. And the reason they pass that ball is to try and move Anton Stack. And guess what? Stack follows the ball and he gets moved out of the way. And then the pass is straight into his feet. Ethan Ampadu is still here. Still, and then Pascal Stroke is still here. Sean Longstaff is now here. So Sean Longstaff has made up 15 yards of space while Ethan Ampadu's stayed exactly walking. And all of them, by the way, all of them are walking at this point. Goes into his feet and he turns. Stroke and Ampadu, neither of the two players make any attempt to press that ball. Stack realizes in the wrong position and tries to get back. And he pops a very good shot. You can argue whether the player from Burnley himself has said that he turned around and saw the Leeds United goalkeeper wasn't set. So decided to have a crack at it, which is potentially another issue to look at. We can't see it in this, but and then there's the horror picture, which is every single Leeds player surrounding the only man that scored the goal. Now, Daniel Farke can spend as long as the day is talking about not getting offensive players, but that's the defense. And look how much space he's been given to pick his spot. And for me, absolutely criminal. But Paul, your thoughts on the goal?
It's basic. It's basic. It's naivety. It's not closing down. It's not moving the level of space. We have to caveat this with it's an absolute wonder strike of a goal. You have to caveat.
Should he have had the time to turn around, take two touches, pick a spot, and shoot?
No. Absolutely no chance whatsoever at all. When you look at that as well from the Ampadu point of view, if Ampadu is anywhere close to where Longstaff actually is, that doesn't happen, and that goal.
All right now, Paul, as that's gone to his feet, if Stroke decides, Ethan, you cover me, and he makes a run here, it doesn't happen.
Closes it as well. It's naivety. I don't know why Ampadu is sitting as deep as what he is. What's Joe Rodon doing there? Look at what Joe Rodon's doing
telling
there.
The defense to get out. He's telling them to get out.
Everybody to get out. And it's just how slow everybody is to move. And you can't be that slow in the Premier League. And this is the point that we make about when we say that metrics and stats and everything are all great to have as a bit of a comfort blanket to say why we think we were actually doing all right, we're doing okay. But on the cold, hard light of day, when you're playing like that and positionally you're like that, stats don't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
Because all the good work's undone by switching off or not doing your job. They hate to go working.
We could see where we were sitting, all that opening up. And I think the first thing we thought when we saw Strike, we've seen Cal Walker. He looked like a guy that was in a nightclub. You know what Cal's like. But anyway, the speed he went. But Strike, we just thought Blackburn. This is the Blackburn game last year. We did the same and give a penalty and we lost that game. And if you look at it in real time, Stack is just wandering around like a weeble. He doesn't seem capable of committing, getting stuck in, giving the foul away around, and he's just being played by them. And then when you look at the actual shot, I mean, we could see the space. You could just see the space. It seemed like for 5 minutes that space was there with the guy who scored. And I think by the time he's had the shot, I think Strike comes out, and I think Ampadu just turns like that in top corner. I'm not sure about the goalkeeper, whether you can blame it. You have to look closer at that. But I mean, they hadn't done anything the whole of the second half. We just trundle, cross, most crosses in 5 years. And, you know, Burnley, it was easy. They just picked us off. And Burnley are going to struggle. They're not that good. I mean, we give them the goal like this, and of course they're going to take it. And that's tactically, and back to what we were saying earlier, is Farke's got to see this. He must see this. And he's got to change it because, our defensive midfielders, a strong defensive midfielder, have been good. They were pretty poor there. That he shouldn't get that space, and he should be taken out if nothing else. And a couple of tackles there as well. We got to be ruthless. A couple of yellow cards should do it, but That's
Yeah,
not
I
acceptable
don't see any
against
reason why
Burnley.
Stroud
It's
doesn't
not
take it on the
acceptable
halfway line.
against not acceptable against Man City or anybody. You don't give that space to people, and we'll be crucified if we do that. It's naivety, really is. I mean, it was so obvious watching it that we were going to get picked off.
If I was to pick on Pascal Stroke, the initial pass, the not getting to Kyle Walker and putting that ball out of play quick enough, and then the not pressing. That's 3 things on him. Ethan Ampadu picking the wrong position, not getting out quick enough, not getting your shape quick enough, not being in a position to press the ball. Anton Stack not locking onto a midfielder, not tracking him. And when I played football, it's a really basic thing that coaches, even at kids level, they'll tell you, schoolboy level, you move the ball to move the opposition. That's why you move the ball. You move the ball, not for you. You move the ball to move the opposition. That creates space. But to see Anton Stack fall for that, 5-yard pass, 5 yards back, and Anton Stack's gone with the ball, doesn't come back, easy pass into your man's feet, and he turns and scores. And you're like, you've got to hold, mate. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to hold your shape, and you've got to, understand what's happening in front of you. That ball moving left to right in front of you, that's not dangerous. No danger there.
Literally, all Stack needs to do is this. He just needs to go.
Just that. Yeah.
Like that.
Just, but he doesn't.
He
Tony Adams is it. He goes full in, and then that's a problem. Right. Next thing I'm supposed to talk about, and it's been mentioned in the chat, is flexibility of the manager. So we've talked about the board not getting the players in. We've talked about the players. Now we're talking about the manager. And from listening around lots of different places, I wanted to make sure I got a full mix of this. The bottom line that keeps coming out is lack of flexibility. So square pegs and round holes. So I wanted to kind of talk about the system. And we've all talked about it. And I'll get the lads' opinion as well. But there's 2 things in football that myself and my brother talk about all the time. It's you either pick the team to suit your style, or you pick the style to suit the players. You can't always do both. And right now, Leeds United can't really do what they want to do with the 4-3-3 because they don't have the wingers they need. Harrison and Aronson aren't going to give us what we want. They'll work hard, they'll tackle, they'll chase, they'll do all that stuff, but ultimately won't be involved in scoring many goals. So what do? You change the system to fix it. Now, in this, everyone's saying 3-5-2. I've gone with it as well, but there's reasons for this. I'm not a fan of changing a system mid-season because you have to retrain it. And everyone will say, well, don't change it because you haven't trained it. However, there is a caveat to that in this situation. Lucas Perry comes back in goal because you bought him as your first choice goalkeeper. Look, you just got to deal with him till he gets used to being there, but he has to come in. You go to a back 3. And the reason why this isn't that big a deal is Joe Rodon plays in the back 3 with Wales. So he's already familiar with that system. Jakub Bial played in the back 3 at Udinese and plays in the back 3 at Slovenia. Already plays that system. Doesn't need to learn that. Pascal Stroke's the only one. Good news. During the international break, Pascal Stroke wasn't away. We could have worked on that for 2 weeks. 2 weeks there. They went off and did some warm weather individual training on their own a couple of days away. Probably should have been working on this. Gabby Goodmundsson, left wing back, has played there for Lille, has played there for Sweden as a wing back. And Jayden Bogle arguably is at his very best, being an attack-minded fullback. You also get to keep that midfield 3 that Daniel Farke doesn't want to change. That defensive midfield. I would put Tanaka in there for a little bit more, but you can do that. And you go, right, okay, well, you can keep that. No training needed there. It stays the same. And guess what? You get to bring Joel Pirou in to play beside a striker and actually get the best out of Joel Pirou, which is in a 2, which for 3 years we've been saying, Joel Pirou is not a lone striker and he's not a 10. He's a second striker. He does better in a 2. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets somebody to play off of him. And then we actually get a big man, little man partnership, and maybe we get something there. Now, that's not a huge change in that you're probably retraining one player, and that's Pascal Stroke. Outside of that, they're all familiar with the system because they all play it in one way or another. But Gerry, what would you do with this? Because for me, we have an absolute abundance of centre-backs. We have an absolute abundance of strikers. We don't have enough wingers. So do we tweak the system to fit the players we've got right now and try and get something out of these games?
That would definitely be my starting 11. And arguably, or not even arguably, the full-backs have been our best wide attacking options this season. I mean, Goodmanson, we didn't mention he was one of he was probably our best player on the day.
Yeah.
A couple of great interceptions, and
I've heard him described as the least worst player we had.
The least worst, yeah. Sometimes it's that. And while Bogle probably should have scored one, it's still an option. So those two down the wings, definitely. I think Tanaka's got to come in. I think he's ready. He's frustrated, and I think Stack has just gone like that. I won't keep slagging him off, but he has, and I think he needs to fight for his place again. But Pirro's the interesting one. We've seen him too many times come in and he's number 10
Lost.
last season. They're just trying to find, and excuse me, I've had a cough all week. It'd be great. I mean, Calvert-Lewin didn't get much service, but when he does get hold of it, sometimes there's just nothing comes from because there's nobody there. I think Pirro, we got to try this because he's seen. I think it was a couple of games he came in early in the season, and I thought he links up players, little touches, little turns, and he's more devastating. Obviously, doing that in the box, and he's the sort of player who go on a streak. He was lucky not to score against Spurs, and but. Will we change to this? I'm doubtful, very doubtful that we will. But if I see this as the lineup on Friday night, I think, yes, this is different, something we do. I mean, I can remember us playing a back three last year against Harrogate in the pre-season friendly. I thought, this is going to be something
all
different.
pre-season.
Yeah, and then we didn't. I don't think we did it last season. And I don't think we did a pre-season this year. Correct me if I'm wrong. We may have done a bit.
No, we didn't.
Excuse me, frog in the throat. But we, as you say, we got an abundance of centre halves. We can do this. I mean, Barnow must be thinking, did I actually sign for it? We got to. If we need to swap somebody in or change around, you've got those options as well. So I think while Dan James isn't fully fit, Willie's not fit. I think that they're our best options, defensive and wide wise, and I think Brendan and Jack just are to do cameos from now on. And I'd be good to see. Calvert-Lewin sort of guy again needs a goal as well. I think he's worked so hard. So I would be delighted if this is our starting 11 for Friday night. But as I say, I'm quite skeptical that we'll still stick the same formation and try and shoehorn players in. I would not be surprised if maybe Bijol comes in and Dan James plays on the wing instead of Jack or Brendan, probably on the right side. And that would be, I think, missing the point altogether by the manager. But let's see what happens. Let's hope he surprises us.
Yeah, I don't think for a second that this right here will happen. I don't believe my own system. I don't believe he will do this because I think he is married to his system and he doesn't tend. History would say, Paul, that Daniel Farke won't change his system, won't change his style. He believes in it, as he probably should do, as most managers do. This is the right thing. I'll keep doing this. It's not me, it's the players letting me down. And there's an argument to be made for that as well. But what would you do with this?
It's exactly that. That's exactly what I would do. I funnily enough, did a video that went out earlier on today that has exactly the same, bar a different. The only difference is I've got Stack in there, but I do say in the video that it's a toss up between Stack and Tanaka to be in there. But I would have that 3-5-2 formation. You can't start with Harrison and Aronson together on a team thinking that you're going to score goal. You can't. They're good to bring on to close the shop up and to just shut it down towards the end if we're trying to, hold on to something. But the fact that we have Calvert-Lewin who can win everything in the air and we're not utilising Pirro, it's almost criminal as far as I'm concerned. It's almost criminal because Pirro's touch, Pirro's passing ability, his ability, as Gerry said, to bring people into the game, to move people on. We saw it when he came on early against Everton as well. Just the difference that he made. He just looked fresh. He looked at it. He looked like, he was just something a little bit different. He's a typical Dutch player. He looks like he does nothing and then he does everything all at once. That's a typical Dutch style of player. He's quicker than what you think he is as well. Yeah, his ability to shoot is very, very good. He's look at all the different types of goals that he scored last season. I just think that we just need that something extra. It is criminal not having somebody playing off DCL. It's just criminal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but it's a way of getting, again, I go back to this, the main point of this, and I'll run through it. We've loads of centre-backs. We've loads of strikers. This keeps the midfield three that he wants. This gets the fullbacks into good crossing areas. This also maximizes what you get from Joel Pirro. It gives DCL support. It forces opposition playing against you to have to play wide, and then Ethan Ampadu or Longstaff can get over and add a double up there and put more pressure on them, force mistakes. And it plays to all of your centre-backs straight. traits. We have Pascal Stroud can play on the left side, Joe Rodon can play on the right side, Jacobiel can be the authoritarian leader in the middle of those, and you've got a more defensive midfield block as well. So, I mean, Ethan Ampadu, arguably, for those who want Calvin Phillips to return to the club, you could play Calvin Phillips in this system, and that's exactly what he'd do perfectly. Sweep across that back line and just sit in when he needs to sit in, or cover the fullbacks when they go forward. So, I mean, there's merits to it, but do I think he'll do it? No, I don't. But I suppose that's what we're all looking at from our perspective of going, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? But that's that part. But we've got the reason we were saying, I suppose we needed that Burnley was a must win, and the reason we're now saying that West Ham is probably a must win is because of this. Coming out of the international break, this is Leeds' run of games. So after the November international break, so we've got West Ham Friday, then Nottingham Forest, then Brighton. Then it's international break. And then we come out of it and it's Aston Villa, Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brentford, Palace, Sunderland, Liverpool, Leeds. Now, you're looking at that and going, Villa's at home, you'll get something there. Try and get something there. Maybe get a point against Chelsea at home. Same with Liverpool. Try and get something against Brentford. Try and beat Sunderland, who'll have 9 players away in African Cup of Nations duty at that point. And maybe get something against Manchester United at home as well. But it's a much, much tougher run, Gerry, to be looking. Again, going back to that point per game average. If you don't have that point per game average heading into this block of games, you could be in a really sticky water coming into the 1st of January, where your owners are going to have to put their hand in their pocket and find coins floating around to bring in somebody.
Seriously, yeah, it is a tough run. Villa, who had a very slow start of the 5 on the bounce now, one at Spurs, looking like they're cranking up the machine. Man City, that Haaland lad, he looks decent. Yeah, I think we probably should sign him. He looks really good. Chelsea Liverpool are a bit vulnerable at the moment, but the Liverpool Palace, you just look at your man scored the hat-trick and missed a sitter at the end. Sunderland, you would hope, but there's always odd results here and there, and we got to, I suppose, look at ourselves and make sure we're hard to beat, which we've done against a couple of teams this year.
Yeah, we have.
But I think the system, and back over, it needs to change on some of these games. Even Brentford would have looked at an easy one, and the next Ireland manager is doing a great job there, isn't he? He's absolutely fantastic. They're flying. They're getting great results. He's not coming to Ireland, and we thought he was a given. They were given for relegation, but what they lost and losing the manager and everything. So
yeah,
I think if you look anything down, I mean, Man United winning the other day, absolutely ridiculous. But you look down from 10th right down to the bottom, and they're all decent teams, and it's not the scenario where the bottom 3 are the 3 that come up, or not at the moment anyway.
No,
there's a lot of big teams down there. Newcastle need a result. All these teams. Forest will need a result, new manager. So I suppose it's dangerous to look too far ahead, because if you remember, we pulled off results before. So I nearly said take each game as it comes. I probably am, but Friday night, get a win and get something out of either Brighton or Forest, or get 4 points. All of a sudden, you've got a bit of confidence again. At the moment, we're on a low, and this looks bad. We go into the international break, bit of a high. 10th, 11th place, and you think, let's take this next one. We're good enough. We can give these guys a game. We mightn't win all of them, but let's cause a shock or two. We won at Anfield the last time. Who saw that coming?
Under
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Well, that was
the
worst win we've ever had. Yeah.
Celebrate moments. Celebrate moments, everybody. Celebrate.
It was the only game Leeds fans didn't celebrate winning, because that means he's sticking around a bit longer, isn't it? He just saved his job for another few weeks.
He won to lots of strange things can happen, but we just got a Friday night, get a win, and the mood changes again. And if we get this team playing better, because a lot of these players were criticizing now. We were praising not so long ago, and credit where credit's due, and criticism where it's due as well. And I think that's fair enough. And we see how it's got to change come January. Yeah, we do need to invest, but that's a whole other podcast, or a whole other series of podcasts when we come to it. But Man City away, I think that we'll not worry too much about that one. But the rest, you never know. You never know.
Yeah,
that's football, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Paul, this weekend's games coming up on the left-hand side. So this is what's kicking off. We start the weekend against West Ham on Friday night, and a chance to open a gap to 2 games at least between us and the bottom 3. So if we do get a win against West Ham, that moves Leeds on to 11 points, up around with Everton. Puts a bit of pressure on them. Everton have got Spurs away. Then you've got The bottom three, Forest away to Bournemouth, won't be easy. West Ham have got us, and Wolverhampton Wanderers are at home to Burnley, which you would imagine that they'll pick up points. You hope a draw there because you don't want to see Burnley get away from you too much either.
No.
So there is an opportunity still for Leeds to not necessarily rewrite the weekend, but fix the current situation to make it a bit more comfortable. And I'm okay with Leeds being 16th and 17th as long as there's a gap between us and the bottom three. That's where my comfort zone comes in. I don't need to be mid-table right now. It's about survival in the league, and we all knew that. So for me, it's just about creating a gap. And these opportunities don't come up very often to open a big gap. Wolves are on 2 points. If you get to, you're nearly a 10-point gap to the bottom side already, and you're like, great, okay. That's one team that's probably not going to catch you. Mm-hmm. Then you start looking at the next two and go, well, how quickly can we open those gaps and pull away, even if you stay 16th or 17th. But with the weekend's game, the lineups, there could be a lot of results help Leeds United this weekend as well, Paul.
Oh, huge. And that's the thing. A week, God, 24 hours is a long time in football. There's a lot can change quite drastically and quite quickly. It's very, very simple for that to be the case. We need to take care of what we need to take care of, which is getting 3 points on Friday. We take 3 points on Friday, and immediately that puts pressure on Burnley at Wolves. That immediately puts pressure on Forest at Bournemouth. And I genuinely think Bournemouth are going to be the surprise package this season, just from what I've seen so far of them. They're,
good manager, good side. And they lost a lot of players. He's done a great job.
Just fantastic. Semenyo is just unbelievably good. Yeah. But, what we need to be doing is we need to be putting pressure on these other teams that are around us, and again, you look at there's Fulham that are above us. We win on Friday. Suddenly that puts, Fulham's game against Newcastle. There's a lot more pressure on that game as well. That all the teams that are either above us and in and around us, we need to be putting pressure on them. And we have to go into this game confident, and we have to go into this game with a win, because it just sets the standard for the rest of the weekend. And we can relax a little bit because we know, right, okay, well, that means we're definitely not going to be in the bottom four this weekend. That's absolutely the bottom three this weekend. That's absolutely fine. We have to try and be the masters of our own destiny more than what we are being at the moment, because currently we're going behind a goal straight away. We're going behind a goal and we're having to chase games. And listen, from a mentality point of view, that's good to see that we can come back from that. Yep. But we need to be on the front foot and doing it right. If we get one and we get the goal that puts us ahead against West Ham, we can run away with it then. The shackles are off. Everybody's a little bit more interesting. But people, and by people I mean the players and the manager, need to be a bit more open to being a bit more flexible about things and looking at things a little bit differently to how they are at the moment, and stop throwing excuses about, well, I wasn't giving the strikers and attacking players that I needed. Don't care. Your job. You're paid millions of pounds a year to coach a football team. You're getting paid £3 million a year to coach a football team. You should have the ability to adapt. And the players, I don't want to see none of this running around. Where's the intensity gone? I want to see them smashing into tackles. I want to see somebody get an early yellow. I want to see somebody get an early yellow card. I want to see set the stalls out early. Let the opposite team know they're in a game and it's going to be difficult. They're not doing that at the moment, and they haven't done for the past few games. As good as what we thought it was against Spurs, there wasn't that intensity level was dropping off. That intensity level against
that's been dropping off since the second half against Fulham.
The intensity level against Burnley was just horrific. That's not good enough. It's not acceptable for what we need to be. We need to be hard. We need to be mean, ugly to a certain degree. We need to be.
Newcastle.
Yeah, we need to be Everton and Newcastle. What I watched when I got to that game, the atmosphere was crackling. Watching how they played and everything was fantastic. They were on it, beating people up, brilliant. Newcastle, the same. That's what we need to see.
Yeah. Gerry, any final thoughts?
Fans will follow along. The fans will absolutely follow along.
Yeah, that early tackle, that smash tackle, and Sean Longstaff, you're right, did a couple of those in earlier games. Get you off your seat, going, yeah. And sometimes it can block an attack. So yeah, we're right. We got to put the pressure on everybody else at the weekend, because we remember when we see a team that we're chasing and the win on the Friday night sort of kills your weekend a bit and the pressure's on. But if we can sit back and enjoy, and if you're a Forest or West Ham, well, it won't be West Ham, but if you're Forest, Wolves or whatever, Burnley, that puts a bit of pressure on you, and you're dropping points. We're in there. So, well, one thing I forgot to mention, the Burnley game, that lovely lad Hannibal. I seen him. I could see directly what he did. He was over at the goalkeeper, and I could see his head thrown back, and I heard afterwards there was a spitting incident. I'm almost sure he did. And as well, fans, don't boo when there's a thing about kick racism out of football. It's not very nice, and there's a lot of.
I think they were booing the people that didn't kneel. Funnily enough, but
was it? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
DCL doesn't kneel on it, does he? He doesn't like to kneel, that's entirely his choice.
Yeah.
Everybody's call. Yeah, everybody's called.
But don't boo it. Yeah, but that was the other thing that annoyed me, other than not being able to get chips.
Yeah,
I did see your interaction with that guy on X, Gerry, when you just said it was about. Last I heard it was about racism, and he went, "Oh, it's a Marxist thing. It's all connected to no, it's kick racism out of football. That's why they're doing it. Stop." Just trying to conflate the issue.
Take 5 minutes off politics.
I wouldn't know Marxist from a bag of spuds. Yeah.
Before we wrap up real quick, just one last comment. Just Andy saying, Paul, the Spartacus rhetoric, easier said than done. Andy, I would argue it's the easiest thing that they can do because it's basics. It's just hit someone hard and mark them. It is the absolute minimum. Minimum that I would expect from any side is that you go out and you get stuck into players. The minimum. The saying that you have to win the battle before you can win the game is there for a reason. You've got to earn the right to play football, and you do it by kicking lads up in the air. There you go. It's the easiest thing to do, and it's the most basic stuff. Get close to your man, be accountable, be physical, get in his face, and don't make life easy for him. Do that, rest look after itself, But that's where we are, folks. We've gone through a lot tonight. We've fixed all these problems. We're fine.
I'm ready for it.
Let's go.
You can follow Paul at the Leeds Therapy. His details are down below in the description. You can follow Gerry over on X at GerryMac123 if you want to talk to the lads or follow what they do. You can follow me at iGerlynch on X, or you can just subscribe and like the video. Would be great. YouTube's algorithm's kicking everyone's head in, so we know what fixes it. If you could stick a like on it, stick a comment in the chat. If you're watching on demand, press the hype button. That apparently helps as well. Anything like that to keep us ticking over. But outside of that, folks, we will wrap it up here. A massive thanks to Paul. Massive thanks to Gerry. Thanks to everyone who's watched tonight. And I'll see you in the morning for more Leeds news. We'll talk about Harry Gray signing his new contract. I'll talk to you then. See you. Bye.